So people ask, why are these wars going on throughout Europe and now the Middle East and the Mediterranean, right? One thing people that know this and people that know this, how all this war started and why it's escalated, I'm gonna tell you why things are happening and why the US is so involved in funding these wars. Thing is that America and its allies, the economic global market is ruined, is bankrupt. They have no way to make money, export or import, because the USA doesn't export as much as they was 50, 30 years ago, right? Everything was US made. Everybody loved US products. Now that our government ran all these companies out, we have no manufacturers manufacturing USA products anymore. Mostly all our products come from China. Everything we get is from somewhere else besides made here in the USA by Americans, working people. And so these wars are not wars that are started because the opponent was angry and started to retaliate, right? No, it's all secretly already strategy was already been planned to happen, right? The USA had all this plan, right? The USA is not going to tell you that we're doing good or we're not, but of course he's going to tell you that we're doing good. We have nothing to worry. If you heard President Biden's speech, he said that the United States have no problem funding these two wars. Now it escalated to more stuff. Now we probably gonna go to war with not Hamas, because Israel is fighting now Hamas, but the United States and its allies are funding Israel. Do you believe that Biden is gonna send them $100 billion to fund this war? Everything is a funding war, but in America, nothing is funded, right? We need better schools for our country. We need better housing. You know, our infrastructure could have been fixed. All that money that he's giving out to these countries to kill each other. That's what they're doing. They're killing each other. And it's not because they went to a war. It's because people broke agreements. The United States was told by Putin that he didn't want no allies around his territory or circling his country, right? Putin is protecting what is rightfully his, that he don't want an aggressor that doesn't get along with him near his border, especially that it was Ukraine. Ukraine wanted to be inducted in the United Nations, and Putin wasn't having that. That's how the war broke out. It wasn't because Putin just decided to gauge war on his neighbor. Everything was all right. When Bush was in president, none of this thing was happening. None of this thing happened. As soon as Biden got in, he's going on a war rampage, creating wars out there. The wars are continue to happen because he's funding these wars and the allies of America. And people got to stand up that we shouldn't be sending our money to foreign countries so they could kill each other and create more wars. You know, the American people, I know I'm tired of these wars and having these wars. Why can't we live in peace? Our soldiers are going to die for our government butting their nose in other people's affairs. That's why China doesn't get involved in other countries' affairs. You know, they got to handle that themselves. But the United States, being that he wants to be on front and he wants to deal all the cards, he wants to be in control and have power and tells other nations what to do. He put restrictions, sanctions, embargoes, things like that. He put clause on other countries. And it's bad. Our country, this one, is so open and so they think it's like the greatest country that's alive is committing all these funding or these wars, right? Now we got another problem because it's Hezbollah, I think that's the name, Hezbollah, joins in the war, is going to escalate it, and they scared that if Iran jumps in, it's going to trigger another war, right? 4 wars in a matter of years and days that is coming up. From Russia, we jump from Ukraine to Israel, and Hamas, from Hamas to Hezbollah, from that to Iran, and now Africa is talking about that he's in support of the Palestinian fighting back with Israel. A lot of people don't understand why these wars going on. Before Israel became a state, before the name was proclaimed to be an Israel state, it was always Palestine. It was a Hebrew land and an Arab land, right? I don't know if it's a country, but I just call it like it's a mass land and the Middle East, right? And that part is off with all kinds of Arab, Muslims, and Hebrews. The thing is that the Israelites, after the Ottomans was controlling that Israeli land, the canyons, you got to look all this up because it might get complicated, but if you understand the dates and all that, right? In the 1500s, the Palestine got controlled by the Ottoman Empire, and after the Ottoman Empire, in 1517, the British took over until 1917, right? Since the British had so many problems and wars and all that, they didn't want to deal with the Arabs and the Israelis. So they just picked up and left, they left the Palestine people and the Hebrew Israelites. But remember, if you look it up, it's gonna get controversial, man. But you gotta understand this. You gotta look it up. But it's out there. If you look it up and you understand why this conflict is going on, conflicts occur because other people oppress people. That's all. It's got nothing to do that they don't like each other. When you oppress a people and you take too much that people agree on, it becomes a conflict and it creates war fighting, civil wars, global wars, world wars. So that's what's happening over there between the Israelis and Palestine. Israelis taking more property each day and oppressing the people of Palestine. But before it was Israel, it was always called Palestine. The whole region was Palestine. And when the Israelites came out, they proclaimed themselves to be Israelite state. But it was the British that left them there because the British didn't want to take them in, and I guess to the United Kingdom. The United States, they didn't want to take them in, so they had to find a place for the Jewish people to practice their religion, right? The Constitution. So they left them in the middle of this religious land with all kinds of beliefs in the middle of Palestine, the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, whatever you want to call it, all these strips and all these borderlines. And that's what there was left to fend for themselves. They gave them their own statehood. When Israelites proclaimed to be a state, President Truman accepted that was a recognized state. But when the Palestinians wanted to proclaim themselves as a Palestinian state, the United Kingdom and the United States did not recognize them as a Palestinian state. They just recognized them as Palestine people in that particular landmass. So that's what the problem is, people, is they fighting for territory. And the thing is that they say that the Israelites are oppressing the Palestinians for not going out, having free access, education. They stop them, they find them, things like that. So they're being oppressed. So they had no choice to go to war. But this is not the reason why these wars are starting, people. The wars are starting because the United States is in the market global meltdown. They have no export to sell to people. Their product is not going out. They're being blocked. There's too many conflicts between countries and nations. Who has the right to export and import? So that's the battle, people. It's not about people going to war. It's the economic for the United States is in ruin, is in shambles. And then we got this president funding these wars with American money. And the people, sooner or later, they're not going to allow that. They're going to stand up and do something about it. Because it's sad that our American man and women's got to go out there and die because our government is out there creating conflict with other countries and nations. You know, our government's got to stop that. It's got to think about the people. People here in America is already going through hard times. You know, things keeps on going up. And now people are not spending like they used to. People are losing their apartments. Things are chaos in America. You might see people are still doing things because people want to block all this oppressed information, all that, so they want to keep their mind out of what's going on. But you can't get it because everybody talks about it. It's in the news, YouTube, Twitter. It's everywhere. But the thing is that our government is getting out of control with putting too many sanctions and embargoes and restrictions in other countries. This America was all about democracy and free trade. What happened to all that? Now we're all into funding wars. Our American money, our hard-earned money from the people, because the government don't work, the people supply money to the government. And it's creating wars, funding wars, so that people could kill each other. You know, I have no problem with no Ukrainian, Russian, Hasbah, Arabs, and things. Some people think I'm Arab and all that, and think that, you know, because I'm character that fits with mostly everybody. You know, people confuse me with my race all the time, but I'm not gonna tell you my race. But you know, it's like that. I got a particular face that I could click with everybody. You know, associate with. Like, I'm a humble person. Well, don't take it wrong, because you know I was trained by the American Armed Forces, right? So you know I could defend myself, and of course, if they come here to the States, the American people is gonna defend the country, right? Maybe not the government, but they're gonna defend what is theirs in their country. That's how it is. No matter where I'm at, whatever countries I'm in, that country, I have to defend where I'm at. That means I'm gonna have to defend the country down where I'm at. So this is just a shame that America is doing all these atrocities all around the world. We're not looked upon like the justice nation that will help everybody in crisis, right? What we're doing, we're creating more wars and more trouble. And those that are in the stock market, you know, it's affecting the stock market, right? And don't blame nobody else but your own country. For every time we get out of a mess, they put us back into another mess. And with that, I let you go and you think about that. Oppression will never work. Think about that.